Welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about why you should not write, tab, or highlight your medical coding manuals. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Okay, guys. So this message really pertains to the students out there who have not taken their medical coding certification exam yet, or maybe they've taken it and failed. Let's talk about that. But if you already have your job, if you use the medical coding manuals as more of a reference tool, like when your system goes down, so you're not really using it all the time, so maybe you want to tab up your book a little bit to just reference the area that you need, or write something in there that is like insurance or policy in your facility specific, that's totally fine, okay? This message does not pertain to you, okay? I'm just making that very clear. I am talking and speaking directly to students, to people who have taken their test and failed because they have these tabs on their books. Now, I'm not blaming the tabs for your failure, but what I'm saying is that it's a contributor. Because here's the thing, a lot of people will say, well, Blue, I need the tabs because I don't know where I'm going in the book. There's your problem right there. You don't know where you're going in the book. And why don't you know where you're going in the book? Because of the simple fact that you have not used your book sufficiently enough. There's lots of things that you're going to be learning as a medical billing and coding student. A lot of things. And these books can be very intimidating, especially if you have not been a student for a long time. But I'm here today to tell you that I have been in this industry for 17 years. And for 17 years, I have learned everything and anything when it comes to studying and how to apply those tactics to learn better, okay? I know that everybody learns differently. There's visual learners, there's auditory learners, and there's tactile learners where you have to be really hands-on. I get that. I understand that. But here's the thing. A lot of people are saying, well, no, it's just that's how I learn, with highlighting and writing and tabbing and things like that. No. You are sold a lie because of the simple fact that you don't need to write, tab, or highlight. These books are written by doctors and scholars who know what they're doing. There is absolutely nothing that you can add to these books that is not already there. The time it takes for an individual to go through and apply a tabbing system or tab based on the tabs that come with the book takes time. I have demonstrated how to tab the CPT manual because y'all would not leave me alone about doing that. And even in the video, I said, this is not necessary. But because y'all were requesting it so much, I went ahead and did it. I have not done it in a while, but I'm saying for the times that I did it before, and those videos are still up if you want to look at it. Because I feel like if you're going to do it, you may as well do it right. And the only one I did is for the CPT manual, okay? Now, the tabs came with the books, and absolutely, they say now, AHIMA says that if the tabs came with the books, that you can use them. It's not necessary because it still takes time. When I'm demonstrating it on the video, it takes at least 30 minutes. And I'm going fast as I'm doing it. But that's 30 minutes that had you not applied those tabs, and had you been looking up codes, going through the index, going through the tabular section, flipping the pages, you would get more familiar over time. And the thing about these books is that these pages are very thin. So it doesn't take much to tear them. These tabs will get in your way as you progress as a student. And especially if you are putting in 20 hours per week, which a lot of people who apply these tabs, they get so excited, but they're not spending the time. They're not spending sufficient enough time to study. 5 hours. Oh, because I got kids and I can't, I'm distracted. Meanwhile, you're right there on your phone, right? With the TikTok or wherever y'all are doing, right? So you're sitting there wasting time. These are time-wasting things that you're doing, and you could be studying. You can be in a room with your children and they could be doing their own thing, because a lot of kids are on their tablets or the game or whatever. They're playing the game on the TV, whatever the case may be. And they're not requiring you to sit there and stare at them. So you can actually sit here and go through these things and work on the flashcards or work on the workbooks. That's what you should be doing. because the more exposure you have to these books, the easier that it will be navigating in them. Tabs are like training wheels. They're training wheels for navigation, which you don't need, again, if you're putting in 20 hours, right? So I just want to say this as clearly and directly as I can. Don't get your feelings hurt just because I'm saying this. I'm telling you this as far as not tabbing the books because I don't want you wasting your time. I don't want you wasting your money. I don't want you to be doing an activity that you think is preparing you for this test, and it's really not. And for those of you who say, well, what about all my notes? Do you have time to read notes in your exam? For those of you who have failed, you know there's no time. You know there's no time. And for those of you who have not taken the test yet, with AAPC, it is a 100 question exam. The average time for one question, because it's a 100 question exam, is 2 minutes 40 seconds to answer, right? Because it's a 4-hour exam, 100 questions. So because of this, not every question is going to take you 2 minutes 40 seconds, but at the same time, think about this. The faster you are going with this book and knowing where to navigate in this book, the more you're going to be able to be like, okay, I can keep time. I can keep time. Having to stop and look at the tabs on the side and then flipping to that page and then flipping back and then flipping again and then seeing all these notes. Do you have time for that? No, you don't. You have time to get to the code that you need and to make a decision and move on. That's what you have time for. It's the same thing with my AHIMA people. If you're taking the CCS, CCA, or the CCSP, it's the same thing, but you have less time. You don't have 2 minutes 40 seconds. Yours is about 2 minutes 10 seconds, 2 minutes 20 seconds on average for the questions on the exam. So that's what I want you guys to understand. This is about building your skill. I am not concerned with the reasons that you're getting into this. I am not concerned about what you want to do in the future. I am concerned about giving you all the tools that you need to set you up for success now, so that when you go to take your exam, you're going to be ready. You're going to be ready because you have skipped that step of wasting your time writing in notes. I see people with their writing in the notes because they post it all over social media, and they're so proud of their notes. They're like, oh, look at all these notes I did, and writing and circling. You can't even see the original lettering on the page anymore practically because everything is circled and written and highlighted. And it's just unnecessary. Instead of actually just looking at the book itself, reading the notes that are in the book, because ICD-10-CM, ICD-10-PCS, CPT, they each have notes in it based on that publisher. In the AMA version of the CPT, which we all have to have, has fantastic notes throughout the chapter. But you would never be able to tell this based on some of these things that you see online and these people with all these circlings and things. Now, I always say that. Don't write, don't highlight, don't tab, don't circle. Don't do any of those things. You know, I did have somebody write to me and say, well, Blue, I know you said that we should not be writing, but my tutor says that I should do that. I don't know what to do. Why would you say that? Why would you come to me with that? Why would you say that? Take the time to write that down when you know my stance on that. My stance is that you're going to learn more by doing and by looking things up the natural way with the book. There's not going to be any excessive writing, because if you're taking an AHIMA exam, they're going to inspect your books. And if you look at the candidate hand guide, it says there's no homemade tabs that are allowed. Number one, if they came with a book, you can use them, right? But if you are doing homemade tabs, no go. They'll make you take them off before you go in there. If you have excessive writing, they can stop you from going into that exam room, and you forfeit your fee to take the exam. So that's why I'm telling you guys, if you don't believe me, look at the candidate hand guide, and it specifically says it lays it all out. Because I've had an instructor. He's actually a professor at a college. He was saying, well, I tell my students this all the time and they never have any problems. Sir, are you teaching them? Or are you standing there just proctoring from a book? Because to me, I would want an instructor that is going to teach critical thinking, that is not going to have students wasting their time applying training wheels because it is not necessary. It takes about 1 week of studying 20 hours per week and working with the workbook to start getting working with the coding books to start getting comfortable with it. And then after that first week, the second week gets easier. The third week gets easier. The fourth week gets easier. And you're thinking to yourself, did I ever really need to put these tabs on there? All that time that I spent, the hours that I spent putting tabs on? So again, this is to help you. And if you say again, well, Blue, no, this is how I learn. This field is new to you. This field is new to you. You're new to learning it. I have been in it. I have not needed tabs. It never crossed my mind because again, I always say AHIMA was very strict back in the day that you could not have tabs. Now, if the tabs came with a book, you can put them on there. But again, it's not necessary because the tabs are going to get in your way. And if you are going through and you're practicing, you're going to be able to go by feel. I am so good with these books still today that I can go by feel. I have been with my providers before. As you know, my books are not tabbed. I will have the book right there with them and I will flip right to the page that I need to be at. And they're like, how did you do that? The book wasn't even marked. It's by feel because I work with the book so much and I'm very familiar with it. And the more comfortable that you feel with the book before going in to take your test, that's less pressure you're going to have. Because why do people get nervous with tests? Because they don't know what to expect, right? They think that they're going to forget everything. It's not going to be familiar. Well, let me give you guys some good news. These are open book tests. So you will have your coding manuals with you. You can look at them. There's no need to sit here and try to memorize everything because the codes are going to be right there. But you have to know how to look them up. And by saving yourself the time that you would have spent unnecessarily tabbing, writing, circling, highlighting the book, you will have had that practice. You will have had that practice. And so that's just what I'm saying there. You can disagree with me if you like to. It's okay that we disagree, but at the same time, be warned, this is my channel. This is my channel, and I care about people. You may not think that I do because of the way that I'm very direct. Oh, you just sound so mean. No. What I'm doing is being very direct so that y'all hear me. Because when I am nice and when I am sweet, when I do say, oh, you know this, it just does not sink in. But I'm direct, okay, then it sinks in. So you can do whatever it is you want to. Again, you're free to do whatever it is you want. But when it comes to the time that you spend studying, the time that you spend tabbing these books and doing all that, again, is unnecessary. It is like, I don't know. It's like when you're snacking on empty calories. It's like that because it does nothing. The tabbing does nothing to develop your skill, to develop your critical thinking. It does none of that. And that is the time right now when you are in school, when you are self-studying, when you are preparing for your exam, that you are supposed to be developing your critical thinking. And I'm not saying just because you have your book tab that, that you're automatically going to fail. No, sometimes it works out for some people. But again, it is unnecessary if you're just going to sit down and you're going to work with these books. These books are necessary for the people who write me and say, Blue, I don't like books. This is a necessary part of the field. And to say that you don't like books is very sad to me because books are a lot more trustworthy to me than what I see on the internet. Now, the internet is fantastic and it's a great resource. I will never deny it that. But what I will say is that books don't need to have a pause and be updated. They don't have to be reset or restored. The website doesn't track what you're doing. A book doesn't have ads that pop up in your face constantly when you're sitting here trying to concentrate on what's going on. The internet does. That's why I say it's good for certain things, but when it comes to actually practicing medical billing and coding, that's what it is. You need to be with those books. And like I said, sometimes I see people who tab up their books and write and do all this stuff, and they show it off on the internet because they're trying to make themselves feel like they're doing more than they actually are. Because if you're just tabbing the books and you're not actually practicing, then that defeats the purpose then, right? But it's highlighted and written in, and it's got all these tabs that you still have to look at, that takes critical seconds off of your time when you're looking up codes, rather than just getting to the point where you feel that comfort when you're flipping through those pages and you know exactly where to go. You know how the book is set up. You know, with the CPT book, you know, your E&Ms, they're going to go in the front, and all of your tabular section is in the front, and then at the end of the book, that's where your appendix and your index is at. And then it's the opposite in ICD-10-CM, is that you're going to have your guidelines in the front. It's going to start with your index, and then your tabular sections in the back. So again, learning where these things are just by feel, by practicing, and not getting distracted with having to do all of these other things, writing, tabbing, highlighting. That's what's going to help you to be more focused and help you to be more confident when you're out there and you're getting ready for your exam, or you're going to go take your exam. Okay, so that's just what I want to say there. It is an unnecessary practice to do. I bring this up again because somebody had commented and I deleted the comment. Anytime now that I'm going to be responding to any comments, I'm going to delete the comment, because of the simple fact that sometimes people get overly sensitive about their comments. But if you are commenting, this means that I have every right to respond to your comment. Other people will see your comment. Before I even say anything, people will see your comment. So when you comment, make sure that you are okay, because it is fair game to respond to your comment. And the person was very excited, and they were saying that they're going to go ahead and they're going to tab their books. They can't wait. And I told them that is a waste of time, that you're better off putting in the time and studying, so that way you don't have to worry about, what about this section or that section? I'm so confused. Rather than get like that, this will be something that is familiar to you. Each one of these books should be familiar to you. And I have always recommended, when I'm talking about my study tips for how to learn from the manuals, that you actually take a weekend to open up each one of these books and then just flip through all the pages. Because your brain, believe it or not, is constantly working. It is constantly working, and so it is recognizing things, it is recording things in your brain, and so that way you can be like, oh, deja vu, I saw this before, right? Because you are familiar with that book. Where did I see it? I saw it in the front. So after you've gone through all of these pages, you know where the notes are that come with the book originally. You know where there's additional information that you can find, like in the index. I talk about the index sometimes on CPT, and people, oh, I didn't know that was back there. You're literally not looking through your book. It gives all kinds of advice and guidance about the modifiers, and it explains in detail what the modifiers are and when they're applied. And people are still confused and lost on some of these modifiers. You should be able to, when you've completed all of your practice, when you have gone for your certification exam, you should be able to answer a lot of these questions rapid fire, especially about like modifiers and when do they apply and what modifier goes on what. You should be able to do that. And the people that I notice that are able to do that are the people that are actually spending the time to study and not wasting their time on empty study practices, which applying those tabs and writing and highlighting and doing all that other garbage, that's an empty study hack, right? If you will. It is an empty study hack because it does nothing to build your strength as a coder. It does nothing to build your knowledge as a coder. All it is doing is making your book look ratty? Because it does. Rather than, because again, the more you flip through that book, your pages are going to tear. When your pages tear, you cannot tape them. You cannot tape them because when you look at the candidate hand guides, it says there's no tape, no glue, none of that. And AAPC says the same thing too. You can't have no tape, can't have no glue. So you're going to have a bunch of torn pages because, again, these pages are very thin. And you tabbed your book for what? What was the purpose of that? Because not every section you're going to be having to flip through all the time. So if you get familiar with it and you know, like, okay, here's all these different colors, right? Because each section is broken down into different color in CPT, for example, right? And you can see it all on the edge. So if you get familiar, then you're going to know. Obviously, if you're looking for the 80,000 series, that's not going to be in the front of the tabular section of the CPT. If you're looking for the 20,000 series, clearly that's going to be more towards the front. So those are things that you can kind of associate and put together, and that way you know where to go when you're looking in the book, okay? And that's a lot better, again, than wasting time, because it is a waste of time. And again, you can disagree with me, that's fine, but this is my channel and I'm going to direct people in the way that will help them to build those successful skills and talents to looking up codes, because that's what I'm here for. And nobody who has less experience than me will tell me, oh, well, no, this is the way to do it. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. You can think so. You can think that way. You're free to share that way. But again, my channel. And I'm going to do what it is that I feel is good for people to learn. So that way, when they apply these things, they can be successful. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, that within the last month, I've had 2 people tell me that they both sat for the CCS exam and both of them passed with a 338. The CCS exam is the gold standard of medical coding credentials. It says you've mastered inpatient coding and outpatient coding. These were first-time test takers taking this exam. A 338 is phenomenal when you know that the passing score is a 300. So I know what I'm talking about. And a lot of times too, with the people who have taken the CPC Blue, I followed your tips and I passed the CPC in the first try. How did they get like that? They got like that because my tips, again, it helped me. It helped me to be successful. Everything that I suggest is something that I have done myself personally. That's why I know from personal experience that these tips work. Okay? And so when I'm telling you from a place that I care, because I don't have to know you to care about you. Okay? And again, we can disagree and I can still care about you because you don't know. You don't know until you go through it. Well, I know I passed anyway and I had the tabs. Well, good. Maybe you had some good study habits. But that's not the case for everybody. I want you guys to understand that. That's not the case for everybody. There's going to be some people that they tabbed their books and they didn't pass because they didn't put the time in. And more often than not, that's what you're seeing, is that people didn't put the time to actually feel ready and understand. Oh, it's just because I got all these things to do. If this is important to you, you will make the time. And there's nothing more that I could say to it than that. If this is important to you, you will make the time. Okay? So before you get into all that tabbing, writing, highlighting, circling, try to do it my way. Try not to do all that. Try instead to practice. Try instead to practice. So that way you can get more comfortable. And then after a while, it will be like no big deal to navigate through those books. At least this is my advice anyway. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.